Welcome to Bravo Team, our second G.I. Joe show looking at all the secondary G.I. Joe material. I am your host, Aaron Moss, codenamed Brotherhead. On this show, I'll either be by myself or have other guest hosts joining me, looking at all the G.I. Joe material out there. We'll be covering things like the toys, the Action Force comic, the European Missions comic, the movies, G.I. Joe Renegades, or anything else that is not G.I. Joe, a Real American Hero comic, or the 80s cartoon. Come, join us on our mission to stop Cobra from taking over the world. Yo, Joe.
Hello, all. Sorry, I just finished my sandwich. Welcome to G.I. Joe Bravo Team. This is episode 34, if my math's right. Looking at special missions number 7. But I am not alone. Excuse me while I cough. I am not alone. Joining me today. Just adjust my mic. My thing's a little loose. Try that. There we are. So joining me today. Sorry about that. Try that again. I am not alone. Joining me today, we've got a couple of guests. My regular host from my regular show. So I'm bring them in. I'll bring them in as they showed up on my screen today. First up, we have...
Now, let me take a wild guess here. You're Brett, right?
Yeah.
I thought so. Check out the big brain on Brad.
There he is. Hey, Brad.
That never gets old. At least for me, it never gets old. Hey,
Well, I'm
Aaron.
I enjoy doing it.
I'm glad to be here. I'm not alone. I brought classified blowtorch with me. I just got them
very
from
nice.
the nerdzoic.com toy store. So they fixed me up with them. So
Good to hear.
my classified G.I. Joe classified collection that I said I was going to just limit it to the original 13 has grown slightly since then. But I'm trying to be good and avoid pre-ordering and supporting, crowdfunding and all that other stuff, because I'm running out of room for all these things.
Oh, I hear I've got a shelf full and I've still got stuff coming. I've got boxes of stuff around here. Yes. Much like podcasting. I'm just going to do one and pretty soon.
Just one more. It's always just one more.
Yep. Soon you have
I promise. This is the last time. This is the last one I'll get.
Speaking of podcasting networks, also joining us today. There he is. Hey, Kevin.
Hey, what's going on? It's funny. We often joke around this G.I. Joe podcasting that we should have read the issue. I was actually kind of freaking out because I didn't get a chance to get to what I wanted to do. So I was like, okay, what issue is it that you want to talk about today? And I'm like, I think it's 7. Thank God I was right. So yeah, and I was giggling, Brad, when you said like I don't have space, and if you could only see like below my waist of like where all my videos are and stuff that I have not yet put on my CLZ app in my I need space.
Yeah, that's the problem we all have. Brad's pointing behind him like we can see.
Brad's on mute. I don't know if he knows it or not. But yeah.
He's pointing behind him
was
like
on
we see
mute.
what's behind him
No,
with
I
his
was going to say
silhouette.
the reason I have the screen just with the podcast show in the background, because you don't want to see what's beyond. It's it's twice a year the Criterion Collection has a 50% off DVDs and Blu-rays sale at Barnes and Noble. So it's like twice a year my movie collection just explodes because I just can't stop buying them. And I have even though I have ones that I are still in the shrink wrap that I haven't got to yet, there's always something new that they're putting out there. I'm like, well, I have to get this one.
And I'm also a glutton for punishment too. This is my second podcast of the day. I had to get up at 4 to prep for a 5 a.m. start for my hair metal podcast. So, so yeah, I've been up.
Yeah, I'm doing a second one after this. I'm doing When My Head Speaks, talking about Animal Man after this. So, so yeah, I think we all have that issue one way or another. Also, we have people joining us in the chat today. We have Joe Jackson, not the singer, not the whatever. It's Joseph Jackson. He says, Cobra, how is everyone? Thank you, Joe. Glad you could join us. Also is Dave Martell with G.I. Joe Roleplay Game Stories. He says G.I. Joe. And he also says that Kevin's theme is awesome.
Thank you, man. I appreciate the work that Aaron went on to do that. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Hey, before we start, I just wanted to share some cool news.
Go ahead.
Definitely GI Joe related. If you don't mind, I hijack the top here before we get into the topic. So, for those of you that don't know, and maybe some of you do, Comic-Con is going to have a very special event this year, Comic-Con 2025, and it starts in just less than a week as of this recording. And I got wind of this before I spent a month in Australia that the band Cold Slither will actually be performing live on Thursday night of the convention, but not at the convention, at a venue. And just want to give you a little heads up here, since I help run the G.I. Joe Finest Costume Group here in California. My good friend Mark Chulin, who's part of the group as well, big G.I. Joe fan. He has been helping out, and he's also, I just want to give him a shout out. He's been doing God's work, basically, when it comes to G.I. Joe fandom and organization. He volunteers for the people that run Comic-Con and WonderCon, and so he's been a liaison with us, with people trying to get us to help volunteer for an event that's going to be happening on Friday, but open to the public. And I don't know if tickets are still available. They might be as I'm speaking here, but there's a big promotion going on with Cold Slither. Of course, we had the special, I'm forgetting his name. Is his name Michael something? What's that?
It was Charles Michael Hill.
Charles Michael Hill.
You
were very awesome. You had him on as a guest. And for those of you that don't know, he was the writer of the original episode of the cartoon series that showcased the Cold Slither band. And he also wrote the song that they sang as well. And he was great to have on and stuff. And he's also going to be at Comic-Con. But they're doing a special promotion with Cold Slither and Hasbro, as they will be, of course, releasing the special 4-pack of the Cold Slither band, the classified series, that size. And they're going to be having some other promotion as well. But they're also working with a local, I don't know if they're local or not, I'm assuming they are, a recording, like a record company, and a promotional. And they got real metal musicians to get together and perform and dress up as Cold Slither. And that concert's happening the Thursday night of Comic-Con at the venue Brick by Brick. And I got myself a ticket. I'm going. I didn't know whether or not I was going to be able to go to Comic-Con or not. I'm like, I got to get myself a ticket. It looks like, though, that no matter what, we're still going to be going. The big question is, as of this recording, is how we're going to help out. We're allowing ourselves to help volunteer for the promotional event they're going to have on the Friday of Comic-Con, where the band is going to be making an appearance in costume and also posing for autographs or posing for pictures and doing autographs, and then hopefully meet up at the Hasbro booth, where they'll also be there as well, promoting, of course, the products that there's gonna be some promotional stuff there and everything. So as you guys know, Cold Slither, I got a t-shirt showing up right here. There have been newer versions of this shirt, of course, coming out, but I just wanted to share that I'm looking forward to that, and I'll give you guys a full update on a future episode here of your podcast, buddy. So yeah,
very nice. And I apologize, it's Michael Charles Hill. I got it reversed.
Michael Charles Hill. Okay,
Charles Hill.
Yeah. A nice guy. Glad that he is getting the recognition that he deserves for that, because I remember he was asked about it. He's like, he wanted to do more shows, and he's going to be at Comic-Con. So there you go.
Yeah, I think it's funny. Yeah, he didn't realize how popular, how well loved that episode was. He's like, I was surprised that,
And the venue, called Brick by Brick, apparently it is a popular venue. I think it caters to the metal community. If you're a metal fan and you're in San Diego, check out Brick by Brick. And I don't know a lot about the performers. I haven't looked it up, but apparently they are accomplished. I don't know if they're G.I. Joe fans. Don't know. Maybe it's just another gig for them. I don't know. But what I'm questioning, though, is if they realize what they're getting into. Because whether they're G.I. Joe fans or not, they're probably going to be requested for future events and autographs and appearances, and I hope they embrace it.
Oh, yes. Hopefully. Very nice. So are you going to Comic-Con? What or
Probably my friend Mark I talked to you about is hoping to hook us up with some exhibitor passes through Hasbro because we will be volunteering our time to earn them. So making myself available all day Friday for that such, but I'm not staying the whole weekend because I got to work on Saturday I mean work on Sunday. So yeah.
Very nice, very nice. So good to hear. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, if you're in the area, definitely see if you can get in. Yeah, check out Brick by Brick. Is it?
Brick by Brick, yeah. Last I checked online yesterday, there were still some tickets available. So, but they said on the website that they're going fast. So there you go.
Good. Maybe there. If Michael's there, feel free to say hi to him. He was a great guest. I enjoyed talking with him. So
yeah.
But unless anyone else has anything else to get going before we get going, let's get going. How many times can I say get going?
Get going.
Get going. Let's
get her done.
Up ropes. Where'd they go?
There you go.
Bring that full size. Thank you, sir. I forgot to do a slideshow.
Please, knowing by the way who is on the panel, please note there's no crease down the middle of this thing right here. Just to let you know. Right there. See that? Yeah, it's nice. And I got the whole board for it and everything. So yeah, there you go. Brad, you're on mute.
So do I. And you know, the funny thing is I think I'd said this before, or maybe not, but because most of the special missions comics I bought, I read once, I bagged and boarded and put away. So in a lot of cases, these have not been out of the Mylar in over 30 years.
Isn't it cool opening them up again after all that time?
Yeah, you get this. I always tell myself anytime I open one that hasn't been opened since the 80s, the little bits of air that are trapped inside are 1980s air. So it's a little cleaner. It's a little cleaner. There's a slightly higher lead content because of all the cars, but you know, it's like a little piece of nostalgia you just kind of smell, because I'm one of those people who anytime he gets an old paperback, you know, an old secondhand paperback, he opens up, the first thing he does is he sticks his big schnoz in the middle of it and take a big whiff and go, oh yeah, that's the stuff.
That's the first thing I do. Walk into a used bookstore.
Yeah.
Take a deep breath.
Yes.
Smell of paper, and as I read everything on my phone, got my.
It's not the same on the phone. You shove your nose onto the phone, and it's.
Yeah, no, I that's the thing I was gonna say. I missed that smelling the paper and feeling the paper in my hand, but it's more convenient. But I love the smell of paper and ink and.
One slight digression. Speaking of convenient, if you have a library card with your local library and they participate, you can access Hoopla, which is a sort of digital comics. You know, you can borrow comics, and you know, the creative teams get a little percentage of it and everything else like that. And it's been a great way to read comics. But they put the digital version of the G.I. Joe Compendium, issues 1 to 50.
Oh, very nice.
On Hoopla. And in spite of the fact of owning all the issues and having read them all multiple times, I borrowed it. And I read it again just because it was there. And every night I could kind of stretch out on the couch with the iPad and I could just pick an issue at random to read.
Very cool. I like
very
that.
Nice. Yeah, I always support the library. So thanks for that call out there, Brad. Very nice. So let's get on today's issue. As I said, today we are talking about Special Missions number 7. This was published by Marvel. Cover date was October of 1987. On sale date was June of 1987. This is back when they had a couple of months in between the cover date and the actual on sale date. The cover price of this was $1. The title of this was called The Old Switcheroo. As usual, the writer of this was Larry Hama. The artist, Herb Trimpe. Letterer, Philip Hugh Felix. Colorist, Bob Sharan. Hope I'm pronouncing that properly. And the cover was done by... Just 1 second. There we are. Try that again. The cover was done by Mike Zeck and those covers.
Well, it's a Zeck. Nobody but Zeck. So it's great.
And the editor of this was Bob Harris. Didn't have a space there, so I was about ready to read that as the 2 different artists, but no, it's just Mike Zeck by himself on this one. So the cover of this issue, as Kevin was just holding it up, I've got it digitally because it's hard to get my comics right now. The cover of this one, it's a nighttime scene. We've got 3 gliders with Chuckles, Lady J, and an unseen third person flying through the night sky towards the Cobra Consolidate building in New York. Let's get some thoughts on this one. Since Kevin's holding it up, let me bring him up. And well, I've got you on the screen. Kevin, thoughts on this cover?
When I first saw this, I'm wondering if everyone else, being a Joe fan, wanted the same thing. I wasn't really paying attention to the background. I'm going, is that issue 21 Cobra, Fortress? And you know how I feel about Cobra Fortresses. I've talked about this ad nauseum through the fortresses that we've seen aplenty in the animated series. So I was just like, what's that? And then I forgot, no, they got a console building in New York. So that was really cool. The other thing that I also thought of too, and I'm going to make reference to this again later, is one of my favorite movies from the 80s, great sci-fi film. Anyone heard of Escape from New York? Where, how he gets on top of one of the World Trade Center, thing. He uses a glider, right?
Yeah.
And so that brought back to my mind. And also too, the toy that I think I mailed away for, if I remember correctly, I mailed away for a lot of stuff, but there was gliders. I remember those. So great cover. It brings you right in. And also too, for the win, Chuckles for the win. I love the fact you get Chuckles on this. And just real quick, I got Comic-Con previously. I got the exclusive Chuckles mail away action figure here.
Very nice.
I'll just showcase just what the figure looks like here, because I have him ready to come out here. There he is, right there inside there.
Very nice.
Chuckles. And of course, one of my favorite cosplays is Chuckles as well. So we'll get more into that later, but great cover. I love that it recreates a scene from the book. And, and also showcases the Joe's talents that are part of this mission as well. Just great cover. And the fact that, we listen to a yard sale artist guy, it's Zek. It starts at a 4. So I guess we're going to have to kind of think about that when we give our grades.
But since he's not here, who cares? No. Brad, what are your thoughts on this cover?
I'm going to echo what Kevin said again. He's borrowing the brain this time. It's a great cover. It scores points specifically because it depicts a scene from the comic, which is always kind of a fun thing to see. It's a little intriguing as well, if you haven't actually read the issue, to see these 3 Joes paragliding to a Cobra building as well. So, I think it's what you would call kind of a boilerplate special missions cover. I can't really think of any of the special missions covers being like extraordinary, well-known ones, but they all kind of do a really good job of selling what's inside. And it must have worked for me back in the day, because I paid, according to the cover, $1.25 Canadian for it.
Ha,
so,
Canadian.
Yeah. So
these are Canadian brothers.
yeah. So so it obviously drew me in. At this point, I was still reading G.I. Joe regularly, and we'll get into the specifics of the issue and everything else. But it's a Zek cover, and as Jared says, this is where you run the song in the edit.
Zek, not Beatty, Zek, not Beatty.
Well, it's a Zek. No Beatty, but Zek. So it's great.
Had to get that screen.
You should give that mix to Fatboy Slim. He'll take that to another level.
There you go.
Just make sure you copyright it before you do that. So
get your money.
Don't let Jared copyright his own voice. Sorry,
No.
Jared. Aaron copyrighted you.
Yeah, I've got him on copyright, and anytime he says that, he owes me a quarter. So,
there you go.
So yeah, and like I said, anyone that's in the chat, if you guys want to pipe in with your comments and ratings and what have you, I'll definitely read that on the air. But yeah, basically chime in what you guys have said. Yeah, it shows something that's actually happening in the book. As Kevin said, it's not quite the same, but we do have the gliders. I wish they would have gave a second glider that looks like these, or maybe used the original gliders, but I know they wanted to have the quiet turbines on there, whatever it is, so they sneak on. But yeah, no, it's a fantastic cover, and yeah, it's by Mike Zeck, so you can tell where this is going. So let's get some ratings on this. Again, 1 to 5 Yo-Jo Colas, 1 being 3 being the average cover, and 5 being like that one right there over Kevin's shoulder. It's like you want to hang on your wall.
There you go. Issue 43 right there.
And real quick,
I don't know what hack drew that one right there, but
I don't know.
it's
Yeah,
all
it's
right.
horrible.
I tease. Thank you.
I've bought a couple of his pieces, but nothing for me. I buy it for other people usually.
I
I might give out as gifts. Also from the chat, Heinz has joined us. Hey, Heinz.
Heinz.
Glad you could join us today, buddy. And so, Kevin, let's go ahead and start with you this time. On a scale of 1 to 5, as I was just saying, how many Yojo Colas?
So, what's interesting is I've always said when it comes to the G.I. Joe Real American Hero line, there's certain iconic covers that, I will grab an extra copy of if it's in good condition. And there's just a certain thing about, they're like, they're in the 4 and 5 range. And when it comes to G.I. Joe Special Missions, this is one of the better covers in my mind. So I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 5 Yojo Colas here, just for its iconic look and just it really just takes you into the issue, and it brings me back to my childhood, and so there's a lot of nostalgia with that. It doesn't get a 5, but it gets a 4.5.
Very good, very respectable number. And Brad, 1 to 5 Yojo Colas.
You know what? I'll give it a 4. I'm not going to go halves this week because I've had a little too much of the bubbly water. So for reasons to say, I think it really does a good job of capturing the city. In this case, New York City at night. Along the bottom, below the Cobra building, you kind of see the other buildings of the city, and they all have this almost this golden glow to it. So that contrasted with just the darker skies above. It's a very moody piece. So you get the idea that this is a definite covert operation and not so much a run around, shoot, bang, bang kind of thing, which actually proves to be the case in a lot of ways. But we'll get into that.
And yeah, I'm gonna agree with more with Brad, I guess. Yeah, this is definitely a 4 cover. Not quite a 4.5, not quite a 5. Jared may disagree, but again, as we've said, Jared would definitely give this at least a 4 because it'd be in Mike's X. So yeah, no, it's it's an iconic cover. It's one that I remember. It's up there. It's not quite, to me, ready to be hung on the wall. Last issues, I think, was closer to that than this one. But yeah, definitely a good solid 4. So a good cover all around. So let's go and get some thoughts on the issue itself. I've already gave you the synopsis about it. Did I? No, I stopped at the synopsis. So the synopsis for this issue, an attack on the Cobra Consulate building set up by Chuckles by the Sierra Gordians is used as a distraction for Chuckles, Dialtone, and Lady J to insert a bugging device in the Cobra satellite communication system. And a couple of points real quick. This will be followed up later on in this main series. It looks like issue 79, which we have a couple of issues to go to get there. And this is also the first appearance of Psych Out. So, thoughts on this issue? Let's go back to the big brain. Brad.
Oh, you meant me. Okay, I thought you were talking about Kevin.
You're the big brain, so I figured for you instead.
You're the big brain. Yeah, not me.
Kevin passed me the brain. I can use it now.
Yes. You got one big brain you guys are sharing. So
all right. This is I almost want to call this G.I. Joe does light comedy issue, because there is the requisite running around, shooting and blowing things up. A lot of Cobra troopers, go on to their greater reward and or punishment. And, it's just got this almost like this bouncy tone to it, despite everything, because we're focused on the Cobras for the most part, specifically this brewing rivalry between the Baroness and Zorana, with poor Dr. Brainfart. Dr. Mindbender kind of stuck in the middle of these two this cat fight, but one thing I really want to sort of zero in on, and this just comes down to me as a person and as a writer, is I'm a big structure nerd. Anytime a really well structured story crosses my desk or ends up in my hands, I always appreciate it. And I like to point out that the G.I. Joe team in this issue of G.I. Joe Special Missions does not appear until exactly page 11, which is the exact midpoint of the issue. And that's some clever writing, because it sets up the premise of these revolutionaries invading the Cobra consulate and setting up bombs to blow the place up until their demands are met. And it's got the sort of the Baroness on duty and trying to stop these people from destroying their prime piece of Manhattan real estate. And they're getting yelled at by Serpentor and everything else. And then we do a cutaway to a building across the street where the G.I. Joe team is just kind of assembled, watching everything unfold. And it's great bit of writing, and it lets the conflict in the building play off and play out for a bit. And then they bring the Joes in, who become not even a complication, they just become another element. And I also want to give a shout out to Larry Hama in plotting it, and that he actually chose the best Joes for this team. He chose Dial Tone to eavesdrop in on the conversations, and he chose Psych Out to sort of do a psychological analysis of what's going on, or what must be going on in everybody's heads. You got Chuckles, who kind of pulled the whole thing together, and then you've got Lady J being brought in to ostensibly impersonate the Baroness at a later point. And if you know your G.I. Joe lore, and if you know the file cards, she's covert ops. So, and they talk about her being a master of different voices and different accents and everything like that, and that she can easily impersonate the enemy and impersonate other people. And that's just a nice little bit of deep cut that he kind of draws on, even though you can argue that he came up with that concept for her character based off of her appearance and what other ideas he had. So I think it's a really great issue overall. And I love that the Joes, again, kind of win without firing a shot or getting directly involved. It recalls the story in the second G.I. Joe yearbook that was the October Guard being pursued across Afghanistan and into Pakistan on a train by Cobra, I guess because they'd stolen a laser weapon or something like that, and the Joes scoop in at the last minute and snatch it away from them all. And I always felt that the second yearbook story was kind of like a template for special missions, that the response to that story got Marvel and Hasbro and Larry thinking, we could do a whole secondary book of just these self-contained stories that don't necessarily play off the main Cobra Joe conflict. Although, one more thing I wanted to add, and this is just a general thing, I love that the Cobra has a consulate building in New York, because I always wonder, well, what kind of role would they have in a consulate? Like, how many people are applying to get a visa to visit Cobra Island? How many people want to get their Cobra citizenship? Having to stand in line, go through security. And what is it like to work for the consulate? Because you figure these places have cleaning ladies and janitorial staff, maybe some clerks and everything like that. And you can picture some guy or gal, taking the train in from Bay Ridge or something like that. Oh, I'm going to work. And you got to go into the building, and there's all these guys with AK-47s, and there's a dude dressed as a bird, and a bald guy with a monocle, and it's just another day in the office, another day in New York. It's just one of those things I've always wondered what it was like. So those are my thoughts.
Very nice. Yeah, I can't go wrong there, man. And Mr. Raider Nerd.
I'm going to come back to the glider because it reminded me of that scene from Escape from New York. And I had a question, though, at first I was wondering, like, why did they just let him fly away and then, like, fall into the ocean or something like that? I thought that, because you'd think they want to have a B plan backup, maybe either set explosives on them in case they don't need them, then they can blow them up. Or what if they do need them and they need to escape? Like, what if they have to escape back out of it? And plus, if you leave them on top of the consulate building, you disrupt anyone trying to land a helicopter or something like that. It was just one of those things that went into the back of my head, instead of just kind of like, letting them fly off and then, get destroyed or something. But, obviously they did what they needed to do. They got their job done. Love that we got highlighted with Chuckles and his skills and everyone else with their skills. And Brad did a great job formulating that, because this is what we love about G.I. Joe special missions is hopefully you get the Joes that should be on these missions, to where, when we watch the cartoons, you're like wondering why this character is in this mission. other than to sell a toy, you know. So that's what's nice about the GI Joe Special Missions. They kind of sped that, and Brad did a great job explaining that. So the thing that I thought was kind of funny, and I'm gonna be that guy. There's a girl fight. There's a girl fight, and I love the fact that we got Zorana and the Baroness going at it in this. And I thought that was very, very funny. And I don't know if you know this or not, but when you were in school as a kid of a certain age and there was a girl fight, everybody showed up for it. Just saying.
Yeah.
One of the other things too that I thought, sorry, girl fight, GI Joe, hot.
Very much so.
Just saying it. One of the things I thought was interesting about some of the paneling, I don't know if it's a penciling thing or what, but I did want to mention that I felt like sometimes either the artist hated the Baroness face or hated doing the Baroness's face. And I'm just going to hold this up right here. It kind of looks like a mask coming off of the Baroness, or she's had some bad plastic surgery that's just falling off her face. Okay. So, you know, if we had a certain Australian on the panel, I'm wondering if he would have anything to say about that. And then right below it too, when she's complaining to Zorana, I don't know, it's not very flattering picture of the Baroness right there. What's going on? Is she winking through her glasses? I don't know what's going on there. So that's one thing. And I want to stay on that in just a little bit here, but this one was funny. I love this panel here where we actually get her doing a face palm, a literal cobra face palm on her head about, you know, what's happening there. And I like the idea of the manipulation of these gorillas through G.I. Joe just so they can plant a bug.
Yes.
This is great. And it gives him, this is like the biggest diversion you could do to get what you need to do. And I loved how they played on all sides of this. And shout out to Psych Out for calling plays, so to speak, in his way, you know, calling what people are saying, what they're thinking. I think that was good too. And I'm just going to showcase this one panel, and I'm going to leave it at that. But it did raise eyebrows for me. Here it is, right there in the middle, where you see Serpentor on video looking at the Baroness, and then you've got Zorana going, "Toodaloo, Serpy, look at Baroness." Just saying, it just looks weird.
Yeah.
So, but this was a great special missions, and it was. I didn't really think about it, Brad, until you brought it up. Since you're the the art, you're the writer expert on this panel. That we don't see the Joes till later, and you're like, what's going on here? And it was a great setup for it. I like when a movie or a TV series will not start off normal and you're wondering like, wait a minute, what's going on? Usually more with television, episodic television, and other stuff plays out before it gets to who you're expecting to see. And this is a great example of that. So and another thing I just like to mention too is I love looking at the ads on these as well. And I love also seeing like, where is G.I. Joe back issues? Like how much is it costing us at the time? Because this is issue 7, but we're going through, what is it? We're in the 60s right now. Is it
63, 64?
Yeah. For Real American Hero. And for a lot of us that were trying to collect G.I. Joe back issues and, pay the money and stuff. What's interesting too, is that issue 1, excuse me, I keep saying episode. Issue 1 was not available always because of the limited print run that it had or the popularity that G.I. Joe is going through. But for the Hot Comics ad, and I'm just going to showcase it right there, the Hot Comics ad right there, if you could see G.I. Joe, hold on, bring it up a little bit closer to the camera there. You can see what they're willing to sell it for. And G.I. Joe 1 is not listed, but G.I. Joe 2 through 8 skips over 9 and 10 are $10 each at this time in good condition. So I thought that was kind of cool. You're getting to see the prices of these back issues go up. And I remember that very, very well. But anyway, those are my first thoughts on the issue.
Yeah. And let me also just point out for the folks listening at home, back in the 1980s, $10 was a lot of money to spend on a comic book.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
You
Yeah. Parents were like, what? No.
You could buy like 3 action figures. You could buy 3 GI Joe action figures for the price of one of those comics. So you
Yep.
really had to choose where you.
Yeah, they were like
spend your allowance.
$2.99 or something like that, or $2.79. You know, right around $3 or less. You know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Although Kevin, I got a question for you. In your headcanon, how old is the Baroness?
At this time, gosh, I never really thought about it. Just you know, but I think at this time, I'm gonna guess probably late 30s, early 40s.
Yeah. 'Cause I know when we get further into the mainline book, and there's that Snake Eyes trilogy with the flashback to Vietnam, where the world of GI Joe becomes small in the way the world of Star Wars became small, where everybody knows everybody, because a younger version of her does show up. So in her, I say in her teens or something like that, visiting her brother in Vietnam. And I guess if you do the math, then you figure, okay, so she's got to be in her early 30s by the start of the 1980s. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think
Is my
late
math
30s.
mathing there? I'm guessing.
I
Is
think
that,
the
is it-
math. I think the math. Yeah. Check out the big brain on Kevin.
No, that's you, Brad.
Again, we've already settled this. You guys have one brain you guys are sharing.
It's true.
so
Yes. Yeah.
A compliment to one brain is a compliment to the other brain. So, you know.
Yeah.
That boy's pictured about in her 30s also. So, probably mid 30s.
An older and, dare I say, more experienced lady.
Also, real quick, is Zorana eating grapes there, or like a weird, like yellowy grape in that one scene right there? At first, I thought it was popcorn, but it looks like it's all connected. So,
Yeah, I
I'm
think
curious
it's
about that.
grapes.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it looks like green grapes to me.
Which meant they have to have like a cafeteria somewhere in the Cobra consulate.
They have to.
Oh, I'm sure they do. Yeah,
Some,
sure they do.
Some old lady from Little Italy or from Washington Heights has to take the A train to 42nd, and they got to walk across, and they got to go into their job at the Cobra consulate, washing grapes and putting
Well,
grapes
you know,
out and
I just
everything.
got back from Australia, and they had the Star Wars Lego exhibit. It's there for like another year. It's a temporary exhibit, and they had a 6-foot diameter Death Star slowly turning. And half of it, they put in all the rooms and everything, including some of the famous scenes from the Star Wars trilogy that you'd seen on the Death Star. And they added all these other things you didn't know were in the Death Star. And they actually had a grocery store inside the Death Star. They also had a hot tub. They had a school. They had a nightclub. It was great.
A school? Oh wow, that's
Yeah.
dark.
Yep.
Yeah, that's it. Wow. Yeah.
That's very dark. I
Never
hope there
thought-
wasn't a
Yeah.
kindergarten in there or anything. That would have been make it even darker.
Well, it's
You know?
par on course for Anakin. But anyway, that's another story entirely. But little kids in the way of being killed. Anyways, yeah, no, you guys have hit this on the head. Yeah, to follow up on Kevin real quick. Yeah, this issue leads into issue 64, which will be released we're in July, so it'll be at least in August on Medcast Network, issue 64 of the main book. That's where Baroness and Mindbender is returning back to Cobra Island after this adventure. So that's where this story takes place continuity wise. So that's why I had to start getting these out, because some of these issues tie in one degree or another to the main book. So yeah, I know in issue 64 they were returning from the Cobra Consulate building. So yeah, no, you guys have hit this nail on the head really well. I mean, I do like the fact that the Joes through Chuckles and Psych Out was able to manipulate the Sierra Gordians, I think I pronounced that properly, into attacking the Cobra building, thinking they had C4 when they actually had was a nerve gas or whatever it was. I like that. Like that one gal was definitely down for the cause. Like, I'm gonna blow something. I was like, you're crazy. We're not really gonna do. No, yes, we're gonna blow this building up with us in it. And I know, someone stop this nut job. I do love that dialogue, and that it shows their various levels of commitment to the cause. I forget her name offhand, but yeah, that one gal, yeah, she was very much devoted to, no, we're going to blow this building up to show them we mean business. And the rest of the crew's like, no, let's not do that because we're in here. And then come find out it was just actually Chuckles sold them a nerve gas or whatever, not nerve gas, but like a pepper spray or something like that to get everyone out of the building. And yeah, we do see a lot of people filing out. So yeah, like I'm sure there is a cafeteria in there because
You
there's
see the bald dude with like the Cobra suit. He had a Cobra emblem that was going down, evacuating down the stairs. I thought that was kind of cool.
and I wonder, and it's a good point. I wonder how many of these people in here are Cobras, and how many of them, like you guys have said, they're are just Tommy from out in I don't know the New York area, but out in the suburbs, taking the commuter train into work every day.
The other question is, does the Cobra Consulate have its own like station to get off and on at? I'm kind of curious about that. Or do you have to walk a block? Just thinking about that.
I wonder now, That's a very good question. In fact, I could see them doing that.
There is one other thing I'd want to throw in about characters and characterizations is the characterization of Zorana is actually pretty consistent, I think, across the board. It has to be difficult. I know it's difficult, but to have just this ever-growing cast of characters every year goes by, and there's at least another 12 to 15 new action figures you got to figure out how to work into the book. And the thing with Zorana is she doesn't know when to shut up. She's always stirring things up, and she's always getting into fights with people. And there's a fairly infamous cover coming up that dramatizes a scene at the tail end of the Cobra Civil War, which has got Zorana getting into a scrape with Lady J, which ends up being a very funny scene in the
girl fight.
Yeah, it's like that. But you got to applaud Larry for figuring out she's just like this young punk sister of Zartan and Xandar, and she's got her thing, which is she's just this loudmouth, pink-haired, obnoxious biker chick who doesn't know when to shut up and often pays the price for it.
Very much so, yeah. And like we've talked about previously, Larry does a good job of handling all these new characters coming in. Every so often he'll write some of them out, he'll have them get promoted or retire or other things we'll talk about in the future. Yeah, Kevin.
Well, you just hit on something very interesting, because is this Psych Out's finest moment ever? And the reason why I don't remember what else he's been in. I remember the toy. I've seen the toy. I don't think I had the toy. But, Chuckles goes, "Hey, Psych Out, what do you make of all this? Is it a go?" And he goes, Psych Out goes, "The Baroness can't back down from the confrontation. Too much at stake, but she's clever and careful. She'll cover her back at times. Yes, I think she'll perform according to our projected scenario. Let's go ahead." Yeah. Is that his finest moment ever?
It's the finest moment I can think of him, because as a character and even as an action figure, he just does not really register with me, except for like those little clip-on wrist radar dish, little broadcast dishes or whatever he had. But it is kind of clever to take a character that on paper and even in plastic looks kind of silly and goofy, and it kind of with this issue he kind of justifies his presence on the G.I. Joe team, because he's done up a psychological profile. He's probably got psychological profiles of every major Cobra, and they'll make the best prediction they can as to how this person's going to react. After he retired from the G.I. Joe team, he probably entered politics as an advisor and is, pulling down 6-7 figures a year.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, no, I had the Chuckles figures too, but I had the Psych Out figure, and it was an okay figure, but nothing to write home about. And I honestly, like Brad said, this is probably the funnest moment I can remember, because I don't remember much with Psych Out doing much in the book, but we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't recall much about Psych Out from the book. I remember his figure, and I remember he had those little radar dishes or whatever it was on his wrist.
and he had some little antenna things sticking at the back of his head that he wore who was that Star Wars character? Lobot?
Yeah, Lobot.
Yeah. A little thing that snapped onto the back of his head. Everything like that, which I guess if you ever had the action figure and you kept him in mint condition with all those little pieces, he'd probably be worth a lot, because I feel like that's one of the G.I. Joe accessories that's always lost.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, no, I do like, they brought Psych Out in this issue, and they gave him pretty good standing for his first issue and showed why he is a member of the GI Joe team. So yeah, great job on that. I love the Vipers, just about the way the Vipers look. I just always been a fan of them. They are probably my favorite Cobra foot soldier, followed by the CGs. But yeah, I love the Vipers.
I thought the run and gun with the Revolutionaries against the Cobras were actually pretty cool little action sequences,
Yeah.
And it's the Cobras were just getting gunned down everywhere, with the burp and the rat-tat-tat, and the one female revolutionary. She's like, one more last what was it, burst. She had some more ammunition in her gun. I thought was kind of cool. And obviously they have to keep the violence, then the blood down to a minimum, so you don't see blood, but you can see the holes in a couple of those Cobra troopers, and it's, of course, in our head canon as we're playing with our toys and stuff like that. I mean, this is why we bought extra, Cobra infantry troopers, not only to get shot, but to also stand guard and get shot as your GI Joes were, doing whatever mission, your own special missions that you were playing with at the house.
Yeah,
very much.
Back in the day, your mom and dad were like, "What do you mean you want to buy another stormtrooper? You already have 3. What do you need another stormtrooper for? Why don't you buy one you don't have?" And they just didn't understand that you needed guys to get shot and blown up. And same thing went for Cobras. I had multiple Cobra officers and Cobra soldiers just because I needed cannon fodder.
I'm gonna get a little morbid here because this is the way my brain worked. My pre and early teen years when I was doing the GI Joe stuff. So I would actually buy or get other action figures from other lines, not specifically Star Wars, but like, you remember, it's not Tonka, but it was that run of like figures that were more family oriented, and they had their own, and they had like this weird bent arm, and you could put
Adventure
some stuff
People.
in it.
Was it Adventure
Okay, maybe
People?
that's who it was. Yeah, and there were only 5 points of articulation though. And you would get, like, if you bought like the truck or the family, whatever it is, you would get them and stuff like that. And I would use them as like, either hired goons for Cobra, but they were so I used to, this is how sick my mind is. Okay. So I would get a paper clip, right? And I would fold one out, and here's one right here. See that, how you fold it out? I would go over to the stove. I would heat up one end, okay? And I would poke holes into these figures that I stopped playing with when I was a kid. And then I would take a red marker, and you can see where I'm going at with this. And they would be my dead bodies and collateral damage when it came to battles with my GI Joe guys. That's how morbid I got as a kid. I'm just saying. And I turned out all right, right?
Well, that's a matter of opinion between you and your psychiatrist. But that's
maybe I need to talk to Psych Out.
Oh, Psych Out's already got a psychological profile on you.
There you go.
He's already figured it out. Well, Kevin's gonna.
I was watching a lot of violent movies with my dad at the time, and I wanted my brain could think of this stuff, but I wanted to see it.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah,
that's true. That's true. For all the guff and all the grief my parents gave me about war toys and things like that, I'm like, you took me to see Blue Thunder. You took me to see Red Dawn. You took me to see 48 Hours.
Yes.
You took me to these movies, not 48 Hours, Trading Places. So it's like, it's like,
Yeah.
don't take a kid to see an Eddie
But Dad,
Murphy
in the
movie.
Chuck Norris movie, blah blah blah. He's like,
Yeah, Invasion USA. My dad and I went to see Invasion USA. So I'm like,
Force
don't-
10 from Navarone. Come on.
Don't take an 8-year-old to an Eddie Murphy movie and then get angry that he starts swearing casually just because you took me to these things.
I learned it from you, Dad.
I feel
learned
like
from you.
Aaron learns things about us that he doesn't want to learn about. I find that funny.
No, I actually enjoy learning about you guys. It makes me feel not quite so bad about myself.
There you go.
And it makes all the listeners go, yes, we have found our tribe.
There you
We have
go.
found our people.
Yeah, I would
They-
mutilate other toys. Like if there was like an old Jeep or something, and I remember I had this old beat up like wagon set from it came with a cowboy, and I
Right.
used that for like like rubble and stuff like that. I got that deep into because I would because I couldn't afford a lot of the play sets. I would make my own like GI Joe or Cobra Fortress. Thank you, cartoon, and I would use cardboard. I would use paper towel and TP tubes for stuff, or like quick escapes, little things. And so I would make my own stuff. I had a whole scenario in the backyard, and you know, I had zip lines for my guys. And if I couldn't afford a GI Joe toy, I would go to get the cheapest one that I could and customize it, or buy a model and buy a couple of models because they were cheaper, and glue different parts to them so I can, you know, build what's in my brain that I couldn't buy, you know.
Well,
So
but the
it was
thing is,
a fun time to be a kid. It really
It
was.
was, and that's why I'm like, you know, it's good to encourage your kids and their creativity, even if they're doing stuff that you don't necessarily agree with, because it's how you're kind of using your imagination and figuring
Yeah.
things out. And you know, for all the violent movies I watched as a kid and all the violent toys I played with as a kid, I mean, I grew up to be a pretty passive, pretty chill,
Yeah.
non-violent adult. You know,
You got it all out as a kid playing with your toys, so you know.
well, yeah,
In my
you know.
wood shop, I made a pretty darn good replica with a router and a bunch of sanding and cutting of Sonny Crockett's like silver plated 45 that he carried on Miami Vice. I even painted it like that.
Oh,
My
very nice.
teacher wasn't happy, and my parents weren't happy, but man, I wish I still had that thing.
Because this is
I
back
was
in the
having fun.
80s. You're like, all right, I'm going to go take this out to the playground and run around. Like,
Yeah.
okay, you know,
Yeah.
nowadays. So
And I made a functioning slide on a pistol out of cardboard and my mom's tampon tube.
Very nice.
But you know what?
You know, when you pull the
the
slide back on a gun, you see the barrel come out. You want to guess what that barrel
I
was?
just want to add, though. I mean, the thing is, I think this is almost one of those unintended consequences of growing up in the 80s with these movies and
Yeah.
these toys and these plastic guns and plastic soldiers. Is I think they taught you all a healthy degree of respect for dangerous things. You know, you understand. You know, guns, you know, in the wrong hands are very dangerous, and
Yep.
all this other stuff. It's like, you know, when you hide people, you isolate them, and you pull all these things away from them, then it's like they never get a chance to kind of learn and discover things about them. And you know, you play with GI Joes and Cobras, and you build model kits and things like that, and you're all like, yeah, you know, all this war stuff's really cool. And then you, through your interest level in that, you talk to some veterans and some people who've served, and then you get a healthy education of them saying, well, no, it's actually kind of this and kind of that, and you grow up with more of a respect for it than you would, I think, if you'd just been, raised in an isolated location and not allowed any kind of exposure to any of these things. So,
And shout
least
out to
that's-
GI Joe RPG Studio says I did that with my Broken Joes with red paint.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
a good place to jump in real quick. Yeah, I was going to point that out, Dave.
We used to play a tag version with guns. We just called it guns.
yeah,
And,
yeah.
you know, those old suction cup darts and everything. Or if you surprised someone and went bang, bang, they were dead and out they regenerated a minute later at the side of the yard, you know, and
Yeah,
you have to go and hide. I mean, that's what we played. We played guns.
We did. We played guns in our neighborhood in Toronto, running around the streets, running our bikes with these fairly realistic looking plastic weapons. You know,
They were more realistic back then,
They-
especially the squirt guns.
They
Yes.
were, but there were ones. I remember we had ones that you got there were cap guns, and the caps came in like a plastic strip.
Yeah.
And you put the strip into the clip.
Yep.
Or into the magazine. You put it into the gun, and you start firing it, and it's ejecting little pieces of plastic like shell casings.
Oh man, dude.
And we're just running around the park and
I
the
can
playground
smell
shooting at each
that
other.
as you are describing
Yeah,
it. It's
yeah,
like the smell of those caps.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And one time, sorry, we're digressing like crazy.
Well, see, the thing is, our generation grew up and started banning that crap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Yeah. We even would get the model, rockets.
Right.
That you'd launch. We'd get the cardboard tubes that had all the accelerant to launch them, and we'd cut them open, we'd grind up the powder, and we'd make like grenades out of them.
Oh yeah.
Light them and throw them. Big explosions.
Yeah. What do you think we did with fireworks? You know, I remember
Yeah,
putting a firework in my Luke's land speeder hood, blew the hood right up. You know, I'm like, oh, that's so cool. Regret
Yeah,
doing it.
yeah,
No, but at
yeah.
the time it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But we all turned out fine.
Relatively.
Right?
But that's why I know. Yeah, people online start, these kids are too soft. They get to. Who do you see they're buying one participation trophy? Who do you think's buying these trophies? Who do you think's banning all these toys that we played with? It's our generation. Because don't give you this generation's weak. If they are, it's because of us. Not us in this panel, but our generation is the one that grew up and started banning all this fun stuff because they don't want people to get hurt. So
the Generation X, generation of thick skin. Sometimes
generation of thick skin, scars, drinking from the hose, riding your bikes, all hours. Coming home after dark.
Yeah,
good times.
But no, great issue, great childhood. Does anyone have anything else to say about this issue? We've kind of gone off tangent a little bit, like we tend to do. But again, I'm fine with that. I enjoy these little side conversations. And again, our listening audience, all 3 or 4 of them, learning a little more about us and things that we're therapists.
I just talk about the back of the cover here of this issue. It is a striped Chips Ahoy Bet You Bite a Stripe ad. Hero comes the fudge. I see what they did there. Here comes the fudge, introducing striped Chips Ahoy, 6 fudge strips on the front and 1 tremendous strip on the back. And you can make your own flip book if you cut all that out. And remember flip books? They were a thing back in the day. But at this time, I was not destroying my comics.
No.
I knew to start taking care of them. So I never did this. But, it's kind of like, do you really want to fold the back of that Mad magazine to get that extra funny little thing? I'm like, maybe not.
Yeah. I'm with you. Yeah.
Oh, there's one thing we should point out about the actual issue itself. Kevin, turn to the inside back cover and see who the bullpen bulletins, every month they would do a profile on a certain Marvel artist or writer, and this month was on Mr. Larry Hama.
Yes.
Who at the time was editor on Savage Sword of Conan, King Conan, The Nam, Merc, Semper Fi, and Steel Town Rockers. And of course, his credits include G.I. Joe, but also Conan, Daredevil, Bizarre Adventures, and Star Wars. So I'm kind of wondering which Star Wars he did, because I probably have it somewhere here.
That's a good question. I wonder if that is a self-portrait of his right there. I'm kind of curious about that.
Yeah.
Well, maybe.
But yeah, he talks about, and then he says, my pet peeves are all fanzine writers over the age of 15. Tell me, is a sane person who wants to write for adults choose comics as his or her medium? Give me a break.
and
then his greatest
accomplishment
outside of comics field is being a bad guy on MASH.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. That was cool. Great call out there, Brad.
So I was just visiting Mike's Amazing World real quick to see what Star Wars he actually worked on, if it's listed on there. And it looks like he did Star Wars issue 48. According to Mike's, that's the only one he did was Star Wars issue 48.
I'm going to look up the cover. It said issue 48, right?
Yeah, it's Vader off against Leia.
Okay, I'm gonna have to check that. I have that. I have all the when they did the reprints of the Marvel Star Wars runs. I have to do that. I know he wrote he did the Marvel Comics adaptation of For Your Eyes Only, the James Bond film, because I have that in the other.
Leia versus Vader, the third law. Yeah, issue 48. Not a very flattering picture of Vader, but Leia is shooting at Vader, and he's
it should be on the screen.
Yeah, Rick. Oh, good.
Presented by Carmen Infantino and Bob Wyzak. Okay, cool.
Writer. There you go.
Yeah. Wow. How about that?
A little bit trivia. Thanks for bringing that up, Brad.
Wow.
Big brain on Brad.
Yeah. So that's why he has that title.
and that brain.
Yes. And do you guys anything else to talk about for this issue? Anything other thoughts or any other observations you guys have? Brad?
No, I think my tangent about destroying toys and growing up Gen X probably said everything I possibly could say about it. I will say that, for the people who've never read Special Missions, you're really missing out on some good quality writing and good quality illustrations.
Oh yeah,
from Herb Trimpe. And I think the plan with the G.I. Joe, the omnibuses they're putting out, is to reprint the Special Missions, because I know Special Missions get a little hard to find on the secondary market. But if you're suitably intrigued for these stories, then even if you have to wait for a bit, they're definitely worth checking out, because they're
on the hardcover. They reprinted the main book, the Special Missions, like the Order of Battle. the yearbooks. So yeah, this will probably all be reprinted at some point.
Yes. Yeah. Only I'd known that back in the day. I might not have spent as much money on back issues, but I'm glad I have them all.
You would have. Any other thoughts, Kevin?
No, I think we've covered it well. Got some great thoughts on this. What about you, man?
No, I think like you said, we've covered it pretty well. We've gone beyond that and our childhood and all that. So yeah, I think we've done a good job in covering this one. So
I made a confession about what I did with toys. So there you go.
Yes. So you need to watch making confessions online though. They get you in trouble. But
the funniest thing was I remember finding one of those figures that I put bullets hole in at my house. I may still have it somewhere. And I used to keep the little paper clip, and because I put masking tape around the handle because it would get hot when I heat up. I used to keep that in the freezer, and my mom hated that.
Of course. Well, Kevin, if people want to hear more about you, where can they go?
Please check me out on the Fandom Podcast Network. We cover all things fandom, and now is a really good time in July. We're getting ready to, we just talked about, we're talking some Marvel. Obviously, we've got a True Believers podcast, but we're expanding our True Believers podcast, not just Marvel. Now that it looks like DC has a direction, we want to incorporate all superheroes. So our True Believers podcast on the Fandom Podcast Network is going to cover not only just the MCU, but we're welcoming the DCU. We're going to be discussing the new Superman movie that just came out. We're going to be podcasting about that next week. And we're also going to be, it's going to be spoiler, and we're also going to be doing a spoiler reaction show to, of course, Fantastic Four. And, of course, our movie podcast. Check out Couch Potato Theater, celebrating favorite movies, Time Warp, where we talk about an entire year of movies monthly and all the pop culture in between. And we also do a Highlander podcast. I just recorded a hair metal podcast. We also got Star Wars going on. We got Star Trek in the Orville on Union Fed. Strange New Worlds is coming out. We'll be following that. So we got a lot going on. Look for the Fandom Podcast Network. Follow us on YouTube. Give us a like and subscribe. And you can find me on the socials at Spartan_Phoenix.
Very nice. And Brad, if people want to hear you, I mean, is there a podcast maybe that you got out there? Somebody the first of your new empire?
You know what? I'm really lazy, so I just have the one podcast. But it is the Cellular Heroes podcast. It unfolds monthly on the Longbox Crusade Podcast Network. A group I'm sure that the listeners of this podcast are familiar with. Yeah, you should definitely come check it out. I talk about the movies that kind of shaped my life. So if you enjoyed that little digression about destroying toys and blowing up the suburban neighborhood and running around with guns and everything, you'll hear a lot of stories like that in this podcast. It's not just about movies. It's also just about growing up Gen X, growing up in the 70s, 80s, and beyond. And it'll cover pretty much my entire life up to date. So and the movies that really kind of made an impression on me then and now. And you can follow the podcast on Instagram at the Celluloid Heroes Pod, and you can follow updates and show notes and other bonus things on my website, which is bradabraham.com.
Brad, I wanted to ask you a quick question.
Yes.
If you give a shout out to a couple of movies that you have discussed recently, because I wanted to ask you something.
The new episode, which goes live on Monday, actually, is a hour-long look at Dragon Slayer, on which I'm joined by Dave Alexander, who is the former managing editor of Roomwork magazine, and we're talking about seeing it and living in Edmonton, Alberta at the time, and sort of doing a deep dive on that. And the episode preceding that was a look at Superman and Superman 2. And I guess I could spoil and tease next month's episode, August's episode, which will be Time Bandits.
Nice. Very, very cool. I was, since we've been talking about how movies have inspired our playtime as a kid, and we have a great limited series for Couch Potato Theater on the Fandom Podcast Network, and I want to get your guys' thoughts of canon films. And we're celebrating canon films because they were great for showcasing really good B-action films, including some of our favorite action heroes like Chuck Norris, and one that we're highlighting next month because the new 4K edition was just released. We're going to be talking about Cobra with Sylvester Stallone, and soon after that, one of my favorite, probably my favorite Chuck Norris movie next to the Octagon. We're doing Invasion USA.
Nice.
I'm sure those hit a little nostalgia with you guys, right?
I own copies of both. I saw both of them in the theater.
There you go. Yeah.
So they're both. One of my favorite Cannon films is actually Runaway Train.
Oh, we forget that that's a Cannon film. Good call.
Yeah. That's the only time Cannon films and Akira Kurosawa appeared together in a credit block.
We released American Ninja 1 and 2 as a double feature. That was our first one that we did. One of my favorites. And then we also just released Firewalker with, of course, Chuck Norris and Lou Gossett Jr., which was also a Cannon film. So make sure you check those out for the Fandom Podcast Network YouTube channel.
Very nice. Very nice. And yeah, nice. I'm over on the Headcast Network. I'm at headcast.headspeaks.com. On Facebook, that's where I mostly hang out at. I've also got Twitter, and I'm on Blue Sky now, finally, and Instagram under Headcast Network. On Twitter, I'm also have the G.I. Joe. I don't do as much as I should on those because I'm horrible at it, but you can email us at gijoe@headspeaks.com. If you want, you can call and leave a message at 1-559-500-3182. Leave a voicemail. I can play that on the air. I've got the number there at the bottom of the screen. And again, I'm horrible at this. If you like what we're doing here, hit the like and subscribe buttons down below. I'm here normally the fourth Sunday of every month talking G.I. Joe. And then whenever I can fit some more time in. Speaking of which, next Sunday, we'll be here talking about issue 66 and the episode Skeletons in the Closet. And knock on wood, we should have a special guest that episode. I've been talking with Flint Dill. I believe that's how you pronounce his last name. He should be appearing on the show. He did a lot of G.I. Joe work for the cartoon. So yeah, Flint should be here next month with us, or next week. Also, if you like Animal Man, at 3:00 California time, I will be talking with Sean Merrick about Animal Man. That can be at youtube.com/@headspeaks. That's going to be on the upcoming Head Speaks. We're going to start looking at the Grant Morrison Animal Man run. He had a 26-issue run, which I'm going to look at. We talk about an hour from now. We're going to be talking about the origins of Animal Man and our love for it, and then the first issue, which I'll be splitting into 2 different episodes. So join us there. And let me see real quick. So David says he's going to be there, and it's Dilly. So I wasn't sure if it was Dill or Dilly. I wasn't sure how to pronounce his last name. So Dilly, thank you very much for that. I'm horrible at names. So, but yeah, definitely check us out. And like I said, hit the like and subscribe buttons. I'm also at patreon.com/Headcast Network. If you like what we're doing here, go over there and throw a few bucks in the tin. But that's going to do it for this episode. Like I said, join us next Sunday at 1:00 p.m. as we talk a little bit of G.I. Joe issue 66 and Skeletons in the Closets. And in an hour or so, I'll be talking about Animal Man. And then next month on this show, we should be looking at the second part of the Order of Battle.
Oh, I thought I was going to have to wait another year for that.
No,
awesome.
Next month, this episode should be dropping for everyone watching it live. This should actually be dropping next Thursday. Actually, it may be, we're going to be on vacation next week, so it'll probably be next Saturday or so. I'll drop this episode for the podcast. And then the next month, we should be getting the second part of the Order of Battle, and that's what I need to arrange with you guys and look at the next issue of that. So I'll be watching for me to contact you about that. David says that Flint confirmed how to pronounce the name 15 years ago. Yeah, when I talk to him next week, I was going to confirm the proper way of saying it. Thank you very much for that, Dave. But that's going to do it for this time. So until next time, remember, knowing is half the battle. Yo, Joe.
Yo, Joe.
And I'm a little slow at this sometimes. Have a great day, everybody. Oh, that's what we do.
Thank you for listening to Bravo Team, a supplementary G.I. Joe, a Real American Headcast show. Be sure to check out our main show, the second Tuesday of the month, G.I. Joe, A Real American Headcast, where I talk about the G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero comic book series written by Larry Hama and the G.I. Joe cartoon from the 80s. Be sure to like us on Facebook. Check out our Facebook page. Just search for G.I. Joe, A Real American Headcast under both Facebook and over on Twitter. We're also over on Google+. Be sure to rate us and to leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts from. And be sure to write in and let us know how we're doing. We love hearing from fans. You can write to us at bravoteam@headspeaks.com. You can also send an MP3 file in and we'll play that on the air. You can send that to bravoteam@headspeaks.com. And be sure to check out my other great shows on the Headcast Network, Head Speaks, Task Force X, and the Starman Manhunter Adventure Hour, plus possibly more in the future. Also be sure to check out the podcasts of my co-hosts. They have some great shows. And if you want to appear on this show, definitely let me know. I'm always up to speaking to new people. You can send me a Facebook message or you can send us an email to bravoteam@headspeaks.com. Be sure to check out our website. The main site is at headspeaks.com, but you can check out the website for this show at gijo.headspeaks.com. Be sure to join us here monthly for another great podcast. Until next time, Joe's dismissed.